And then you joined us on our webinar, you got signed up, and then, and that was what, 3-4 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I know you've done a couple deals now, in California. And
As of this morning, we've signed 6.
hey guys, Spencer Van here, Surplus Fund Secrets, and I just got done putting together this interview I did with Rick Rickert, who's closed 6 deals in 30 days. So he signed up to our webinar, and it's been less than 30, it's been 3.5 weeks, less than 30 days from when he was on live with us. He's closed 6 surplus fund deals, which is just phenomenal. He's absolutely killing it right now. We're super excited for him. And we thought it would be cool to kind of sit down with him, interview him, figure out what he's doing to be successful, and just kind of push it out to everyone else. And see if you guys can take things and learn something from this. So hopefully you find value from this. And yeah, without further ado, here you go. And I guess before we start, if you could give like a little intro about who you are and how you got started and all that, that'd be awesome.
Sure, absolutely. About 20 years ago, I left corporate America and I started buying homes at public auctions. So I had some money that came out of corporate America with me, and I thought, well, I'd rather invest in real estate and kind of be my own boss and go that route. So what kind of transpired out of that was, seeing what a chaotic process buying a public auction was. And so I'd done that just for myself for, a couple of years. But what was happening is I had a lot of people coming up to me going, how do you do this? What do you do? How do you know if it's a good deal or not? So I started educating people and turning them into my clients, because not everybody wants to show up at auction and go through that process. So, So what kind of led, to that was really, as time went on, I really understood more what went on at auction. And as properties get bid up at auction, what happens to those excess proceeds? They're called excess proceeds in Arizona, or surplus funds in California.
That's the big thing I noticed too, is that before anybody gets success with really any type of entrepreneur, an entrepreneurial venture, whether it's, fix and flipping or like what we're doing, surplus funds and all that, it's really a major mindset shift. And so I think like that's kind of why I asked that is how long, like, were you in your corporate job and you were there like, this is not for me? And then was there a gap between when you left and it was like trying to figure it out and the switch of mindset? Or was it just like, you knew I've always been an entrepreneur, I'm just here for now, and then boom, you switch and it's like right away you're ready to go?
That's a really good question, Spencer. And it really came down to this for me. Even as a young kid, I knew I was going to run my own business. Like at a young age, I didn't really know what all of that meant, but I was like, no, I think I'm gonna have my own business. I'm gonna do my own thing. But when it came to working in corporate America, I worked for a tech company, a computer company. Mm-hmm. And the fortunate thing for me, I was there as a startup back in 1988, and the company really grew, and I had stock options that went public about, 5 years into being there. I was there a total of 10. And being a very progressive company, I kind of got the confidence to go, you know what, I can see what they're doing, and we're just kind of doing things that we have to do and making things work. And so from that experience, I was able to go, no, if I got to go out on my own, I can do anything, because we're doing anything right now. And so that was a great experience for me as kind of a younger guy in corporate America. And it kind of got to the point where the company grew so big that a lot of us who were there a long time, even though we had options and we could stay, it was kind of like, it felt like it was time to leave. So I kind of wanted to do something different. It was kind of getting stagnant, and in a sense where I just wasn't feeling like personal reward from being there. But the great thing for me was they were very gracious on my exit. I gave them a 90-day, instead of like a 2-week notice. I gave them
you gave them a 3-month notice.
I gave them a 3-month notice, and they said, hey, we appreciate it. And they said, if you would just come in on like Mondays and Fridays and just do whatever you're doing. So I spent really 3-4 days a week just researching real estate and going to different seminars, webinars, and kind of figuring out what I want to do. And then I uncovered and went, buying a public auction, while it has some barriers, that'll keep some people out, but it wasn't a barrier for me, like having to pay cash at auction and those kind of things. So I had, not that I had a ton of money, but I had enough money where I could buy a couple homes for cash.
Like, what did your first deal with that look like? Like, what's the story behind that? What was the process? Like, how'd you get it?
Well, actually, I had a friend of mine who was an attorney, and actually it was before she was an attorney, and we were talking about kind of what she was a real estate investor as well. I met her through teaching people how to buy at auction. So she was like trying to figure it out, and she says, I just finished doing all my work to become an attorney, but she goes, I'm kind of contemplating getting, going through and getting my, the bar exam and attorney. And I said, the laws are changing in Arizona. And I said, it's going to push a lot of people out. The law changed not necessarily to our benefit, because it went from, you could charge any percentage to locked it down at $2,500 max. And we decided to go in at that time where it was pushing because a lot of people were like, I wouldn't do this for 2,500, where we said, you know what, let's just do it, but do it all.
Yeah.
And let's just become the biggest and do them all.
Do it at scale.
And, do it in scale. And so that was just a different look at it. So really back then that was the process. So she went and got her license through the bar and became, our attorney. And so I don't want to say we had a partnership, because, you can't really partner with an attorney, but she played an integral role. It was, it was her company and then my third party company that did the recovery part. And of course, as you know, it's like, you just got to get them under contract and then you turn that over to the attorney, and attorney handles everything, which is a really beautiful part of that. Okay. And so that's really how it started. We just kind of had that discussion. We had the same mindset. She knew what she wanted out of it. We knew what we wanted out of it.
And what year roughly was when you first got started with surplus funds and that whole process in Arizona?
2005.
2005. Okay. So now we've sped forward now. And I remember we talked and you said that you were looking to come into California, but you've been looking, I'm assuming, for a little while, right?
Well, I was researching how to get into Washington State, and that's where I came across your website. Okay. And actually, I think I saw a video or kind of a demo, kind of webinar thing from you guys. And that's where I thought, this might be a great segue into California, and it certainly is. And so I really appreciate you guys and what you put together.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Because that really helped me, because I kind of put Washington on hold for a minute, because I thought, well, this, California, of course, is the bigger state.
Absolutely.
And so, it was only about 3 weeks ago, I think, and we kind of started doing a little bit of work. And so we've kind of been dabbling in the sales part of it for the past 2 weeks, and we've been very happy with our results so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. So you were, I think it's funny because I got a notification. You found us the non-traditional way in terms of how we're running our business, because we're not actually advertising our lead site right now. Everything is just being directed through one funnel. And then, later on we're going to boost out, but you actually found us through our lead site. And I remember getting a notification like, oh, this guy, I was like, that's kind of, I didn't even know we were on Google. Or anybody asked for that or anything. I'm like, all right, hey, good for him. And then you joined us on our webinar, you got signed up, and then, and that was what, 3-4 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I know you've done a couple deals now, in California. And
as of this morning, we've signed 6.
Wow. Congratulations. So you signed 6. And really, is there, because I'm just curious for me, is there a fundamental difference between how your business operates with Arizona or with California? Or is it basically just the same process?
Yeah, the exact same process though, from calling people and reaching out to people. My son actually last weekend, because he's very effective knocking on doors, where I have a couple salespeople who are really effective over the phone, and they're gals, so we actually don't want them knocking on doors. That's just our personal preference, safety. But my son, being young and energetic and really feels well, kind of to and with people when he shows up at the door. He ran out to Riverside County last weekend, and I think he for sure got one contract out of it. Somebody had called him back after stopping by. And then he talked to a few others where, somebody was deceased and then they got to talk to family members. So of course that always takes a little bit longer. But probably just out of that weekend, he's probably going to have a total of three contracts.
There you go. That's awesome. But it's just interesting for me to see that. And like what I always recommend is when people get started with anything, like we'll talk about surplus funds, go in, get a deal on your own first. Okay. Make sure you can actually do it. Figure out the right way to do it. Okay. Do a couple of those and then outsource. Then figure out, okay, what do I not like doing? What am I not good at? And what am I good at? And figure that part out. But yeah, it's just interesting to see, because you're one of the few people I've seen in real estate that's not like an agent or, that's a brokerage or anything like that actually has built something, you know what I mean? Versus just, I'm just to do everything.
Yeah. And Spencer, you hit it right on the head. I am 100% with your thinking on it is, just get that first deal.
Yeah.
And then decide a handful of things. One, is this for you? And then kind of decide, I mean, if you're a great salesperson, you don't want to bog yourself down with data. You know, that's our philosophy is don't let the salespeople do anything but sell. And
Right.
so, of course, you know, we're fortunate. We're a little bit longer in the process that we do have 5 salespeople. And, you know, and we enjoy that process because they get the rewards from that. We get the rewards, and it really, it's a system.
Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy, but you're right. As people go into this process, they have to kind of know, you know, what am I getting into? And it's just get that first one, decide if it's for you, and then decide what does it look like for you. Are you that data person or are you the salesperson? And then kind of find that support system to get you there. But again, at the same time too, from a data perspective, you guys do so much from just dropping the data in our laps. I mean, I was super excited because, as you know, a lot of people aren't big shares of data in this field because it's kind of like buying at auction. It's like, hey, if you got a great source for data, you don't share it with people because those are your diamonds. And I think you guys are doing, you know, a great thing by opening it up and educating people. And, you know, because there's so much more than one company or even a handful of companies could even handle in California.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'd love to put a dent in it, but you know, even at our peak, we could probably barely scratch the surface of what's available there.
One more question, just for all the people that are on here that are watching this that are, you know, relatively new, and they want to get started. What would you say are the 3 things that you've learned so far? And obviously, again, you're further along. You're running an actual company now, but 3 things you've learned from surplus funds that, you know, people getting started, you know, would need to know.
You know, really good question. So one is, are you set up to do it? Are you set up to be that entrepreneur to take this on? Because this is a systems-based thing.
Right.
Like if you're kind of an organized person, you'll probably do okay. If you're that high extrovert, great on the phone, you kind of gotta make sure you've got a support, you know, person to make sure all your documents and really good salespeople know that anyway. They've got that backup, whether it's a spouse or, you know, somebody, you know, they hire for a few hours a week or whatever to do it for them. So number one is, you know, does this kind of fit into who you are?
Right.
And really number 2 then is a source for data. And of course, you know, you guys with surpluslist.com, did I say that right? I want to make sure I say that right. Surpluslist.com. So one great source in California. Just, you know, so that is really important because that literally, and if people don't know, whatever the cost is per month, and I don't want you to raise your rates, but so hopefully I'll give it a perspective. But you guys got a good thing, and you know you do. Yeah. But to pay the fee, you know, that monthly subscription is nothing compared to what this would cost to go out and do this. Now, there's some other ways to pull the data. You know, if you're savvy, you can do it through some other subscriptions. But you guys really get what you're doing, and it's geared for this. So, and then really the third thing is kind of hone your selling skills. Just hone the base. This does not need advanced selling skills. We talked about them a little earlier in the call that if you can build rapport, you're probably going to win. And, you know, educate them a little bit. You know, confirm some things for them, put them at ease about the situation they're in. Because so many people, as you know, think all is lost at this time in their life. Even a lot of times within a year of the auction, whether they lost their job, didn't lose their job, to lose their home, to lose that thing that's so important to all of us, that roof over the head, our castle, is really a situation where not everybody finds themselves in, and they don't necessarily know what to do. So kind of recapping those 3 is, 1, is this right for me? 2, get a good source for data. And then 3, making sure that you're approaching them in a way, because they're in a state of mind, a position you're most likely not in, and having that understanding and creating just a basic sales approach with them, I think is a winning combination. So I hope that's,
absolutely. Thank you, Rick. I think that's it. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add to anybody out there who wants to use surplus funds, but
if I have any words of advice for people who hear this is take the education and then decide, is it for you? But if it is for you, you know, dig in and go for it, because it's out there and there's a good business, and just have success and have fun with it.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rick, for your time. I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Rick.
Glad to join you, and appreciate you having me.